Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Martin Cliffe here from my studio here in sunny Hong Kong. It's 2014. It is Monday the 20th of January, and I wanted to talk in this video. This video kind of harks back to my old Quest for Tone series that I shot back in England, and I wanted to talk about Suhr pedals, in particular my Suhr pedals, and why they have changed the game for me. As you'll know if you've been following back my rig rundown videos over the years, I've had some fairly nice pedals, particularly overdrive pedals and such things. I've used things by Robert Keeley modified Boss effects, which sound great. You know, have a great tone to them, really transparent and everything else. I've used exotic effects, their EP booster, their SL drive, their SP compressor. I've used lots of full tone effects, a couple of their fuzzes, their OCD and their catalyst. And you know, as I've been accumulating pedals over the years, I can't say that any of the pedals I've had are bad pedals in recent years. Obviously if I go back, you know, then I can say I had plenty of bad pedals over the years. But certainly in recent years I have not had anything that I would consider a bad pedal, but there's always been something that hasn't been quite what I want, I guess is the easiest way to describe what I'm thinking until now. So I'm just gonna switch camera to my pedal board camera, which now the perspective may look a bit weird because it's kind of upside down, but basically this is my current really small pedal board. It's a Pedal Train Nano, which I've waxed lyrical about before, and my guitar comes in at the side. It feeds a Sheba drive, which is a kind of Tube Screamer-esque overdrive. It's not a Tube Screamer clone at all, but it has that kind of impact on your tone. It's reasonably dark, and it doesn't have a huge amount of drive. It's true bypass. Now, how do I know that these pedals are true bypass? Well, I'm powering them from a Pedal Train Volto, which at the moment is switched off, and yet I'm still getting signal through them. So that immediately tells me that you know, they're true bypass pedals because I'm getting no power into them. If I tried that with Boss pedals, then that wouldn't work. So I've got, as I say, a Sheba drive, and this Sheba drive is set with the drive about 2 o'clock, so reasonably high. The level just past 12, the tone just below 12, and then it feeds another Sheba drive. Now, why is this black? Purely because it's a limited edition one that I picked up. But other than that, it is the same pedal, and has the drive set lower at about 10:30, the level about 1 o'clock, the tone just past 12. You notice there's a little switch as well, a smooth switch. On this one I have it in the left position, on this one I have it in the middle. Then it feeds a Koji comp, which is a compressor pedal, just one of Suhr's newest pedals. Again, these are the settings that I've chosen. Voice switch in the middle, comp at about 10, level at 12, attack at 11ish, and mix just past 12. And as you know, I've waxed lyrical about the exotic SP compressor, and this sounds at least as good, if not better, and it also has a slightly lower noise floor, which is really important. I'll get onto that in a second. And finally, we feed a Suhr Riot pedal, which is a distortion. And it is a distortion in the style, I guess it's somewhere between my exotic SL drive, which is very kind of Marshall in a box pedal, and my Keeley DS1 Ultra, which is a sort of full-on distortion pedal. And again, I've got the distortion at about just below 12, level at about 11, tone at about 10:30, and the voice switch in the middle. So that's how I have them set up. If I turn on the pedal board, which I do simply by pressing the button underneath, that powers up the Pedal Train Volto, and obviously I'm getting no difference in tone because it's still we're still all in true bypass mode. There's no buffering going on. I should say I'm using Elixir cables, which are really low capacitance, and I'm using two very short ones. In terms of clean tone, my dry tone, it is my Egnater Tweaker. Going through two cabs, one with a greenback, one with a G12H30 70th anniversary, and then mic'd up with an SM57 and a SE Electronics R1 ribbon microphone on each cab, and then merged. The two ribbon mics are merged into one channel, the two SM57s are merged into another channel. It's the way I prefer to record guitar. It means I've only got two sources to deal with rather than four. But there we go. So, what does each pedal do? Well, basically, I was thinking about, because I've got a crazy number of pedals. If I open my pedal drawer, which I'll have to switch to the overhead camera for, I have a drawer with quite a lot of pedals in. I don't know how well these will show up on the video, but I've got 5 TC pedals, I've got an OCD, I've got my 4 exotic effects, that's a bass preamp, I've got another 6 pedals here, 3 full tones, a vibe, and my 2 Keeley pedals. And then I've got 4 MXR pedals on my other pedal train Nano in my drawer. So I've got a lot of pedals, but what I kind of want out of a guitar tone, I realised, and the more I have a phantom drawer opening, the more I play, the more I've realised this, is that I need a couple of different overdrive tones with different levels of gain, a solo tone, and then a kind of spanky clean tone with and without a compressor. So obviously straight clean tone is very simple because I love the tone of my tweaker. So let's look at what each pedal does to my tone individually and collectively. So let's start off, as I say, clean tone, Egnater Tweaker. And then on top of my clean tone, I want something that that kind of evens it out, makes it a bit more spanky, pulls out the single notes. So that's what the compressor does. Now what the compressor is set to, hopefully this will show up on camera, is that it has a green LED when it's doing nothing, but it's on. Then if I pick gently, it turns orange. If I pick hard, it'll turn red. So it's just reining in the dynamics a bit. Now hopefully you can hear from that what's actually happening there is that the single note, the bass note that I'm playing at the start, is being increased in level slightly and the chords are being pulled down a bit. So just get it a bit more balanced out, which really helps when playing all kinds of little kind of intricate kind of and any kind of chord or kind of funky stuff. Because if I play that without, it just brings everything together, makes it more cohesive, which is great for recording and pretty good for live too. But the other reason I use a compressor is to do with actually the levels of the overdrives, and this is Trey Anastasio from Fish's Trick. So I'll run through the overdrives individually first. Now the overdrives are run, the black one is set lower gain than the blue one. It's just to do with the position of the gain knob, it's nothing to do with the pedals themselves. So if I turn on the black one, which is my low gain, Hopefully you can hear that. Doesn't go a whole lot louder in terms of actual level, but it just gives it a bit of grit, a bit of drive. Hopefully you can also hear that it is incredibly quiet, and that, as I say, is something that was really important to me and something that's been lacking from pretty much all my other pedals. Now, I've loved the full tones and the exotics and stuff, but I've always had to run my MXL SmartGate behind them to clean up the extraneous noise. But I mean, I've got two fluorescent lights pointed at my guitar from a few feet away, and I'm not getting any noise through the amplifier, which is just really, really good news for me. And okay, it's not the highest amount of gain in the world, but you know, on any of my other overdrive pedals, if I was to try that, you would hear the noise, you'd hear the hiss, and I don't like noise. I don't like hiss. I'm a bit fussy. So this is a Shiba drive. So as I say, if I go back to without. It's not having any significant impact on the overall tone. What it's doing is it's just giving it more gain, a bit more grit, which is what I like. As I say, slightly dark, so it doesn't give you that kind of gnarly kind of sound that a lot of overdrive pedals do. Which, you know, for some things may be useful, but certainly for what I'm looking for, it's kind of low gain, really responsive to picking dynamics, kind of rhythm sound. Then this is really good for that. If I move to the middle position, and just back off the volume very, very slightly on the guitar. I mean, I hardly backed it off at all. Now, one of my pet peeves about some YouTube videos, particularly on amplifier reviews, is they'll describe something and say, I'm now going to play a clean sound, and they'll play a clean sound that sounds like that. That's not a clean sound, people. That is breaking up. That's edge of breakup. That's driven. It's an overdriven sound. That's clean. Hear the difference? Now I'm going to go back to the compressor and explain why I use the compressor. It does the same thing. It's after the overdrive, so that I don't get as much volume boost. It just fattens up the tone. So without the compressor, so it's just helping to fatten things up, make things a bit more cohesive. And again, because it's after the overdrive pedal, when I roll back the guitar volume, the actual volume of signal coming out of the amplifier doesn't change, it just cleans up. Really useful when using a single channel amp, as I am. So that's Shiba drive number 1. And Shiba drive number 2 is just set for a slightly higher gain. So clean. So it's definitely more gainy, but reasonably well, not obviously as well as being lower gain because it has more gain, and you do get more of a volume drop by the time you get it to clean up. But that again is what I use the Koji comp for. So and then if I want more gain but still just that kind of natural sounding overdrive, I can kick both on. Again, because I'm running the comp after, I'm not going to get crazy amounts of gain. You can hear a little bit of noise now. That's because anytime you run a compressor after an overdrive, you're going to get some noise. But as I say, I've got fluorescent lights pointing at my guitar. If I turn them off, it would probably sound a lot quieter, but you wouldn't be able to see me. So you'd just be able to see the sunshine behind me. Now that is a lovely kind of mellow singing lead tone, which is one of the two lead tones that I would generally be looking for. The other one is a sort of brighter, more cutting tone, which is where the riot pedal comes in. Again, talking about noise, you know, I've got two drove drive pedals, one feeding another, feeding a compressor, which is going to bump up the noise floor, and that is perfectly acceptable. I've got the amp running fairly loud, and I can certainly live with that level of noise. When I compare it to before I got the second Shiba drive, I was running my full tone OCD in its place in the chain, and it was giving me a similar kind of tone but with much more noise. So I was having to use my gate for that. So very happy, and this is really why I'm talking about these pedals being game changers. I'm going to be doing much more video. I'm going to do individual reviews of each pedal, and just lots of jamming with them. But this is just a quick run through. So I'd say that's one of my lead tones. Now what happens if I turn the comp off? Well, it gets louder. Doesn't get any noisier, which is good. You wouldn't really expect it to. It's a little bit louder, a little bit less controlled, but it's giving me another option. You know, I don't see a compressor as being an always-on pedal. Certainly not in this combination, because it's just such a versatile pedal. So that's one lead tone. Now if I just turn off those and turn on the riot, it has a very different character to it. It's big, it's bold, it's brashy, it's very amp-like. Now I've tried out an extensive number of pedals here, including the Riot Reloaded, which sounds very good, but this just sounds more amp-like, more singing. It has a bit of presence without being harsh, which is very difficult for pedal manufacturers and amp manufacturers to achieve. I mean, this just sounds like a really pushed amplifier, which is what you want. And it cleans up. Distortion pedal that cleans up. So maybe onto a winner here. And of course, I'm running after the compressor, so I can get that kind of singing lead by compressing my tone. Obviously you're going to get some noise when I do that. But just a really useful tone. And if I really did want to fasten it up, there's nothing stopping me running a Sheba drive in front of it. Either the lower gain one, which just provides a bit more oomph. Great for just giving a bit of a mid hump. I'd say the right is naturally a little bit scooped, and to be honest, what I've discovered is it works really well for kind of Megadeth rhythm tones as well as for solos. If I take the compressor off, then yeah, it really just gives me that kind of heavy rhythm kind of. You know, the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So, and then say when I put the black Sheba in, it just gives it a bit of a mid boost, makes it cuts a bit better basically. Although it's not something that I can see having problems cutting in a mix anyway. And then if I put the blue Sheba drive on, it's a bit more gain still. It's not quite as bright, so it'll just mellow things out a bit. Now at that point, that's certainly as much gain as I would ever need. And the one place that really comes into its own is actually when doing tapping, because it just, you know, I don't tap a lot, so my tapping technique is not perhaps the best, and I just need something to kind of give it a bit more oomph, and that combination of the Sheba and the Riot together really just you know, give me that boost on the single notes, and helps them to kind of punch through. So how many combinations of tones have I actually got here? Well, I don't know, my maths is something that I haven't studied in a long time, so I can't remember exactly what the number of combinations of 4 pedals is. But it's enough. But basically 2 clean tones, 3 overdriven, well, 2 kind of mildly overdriven tones with or without the compressor, 2 kind of standard lead or heavy rhythm tones, and then a couple of crazy combinations for high gain soloing. And why has this changed the game for me? Other than, as I say, the noise, which is a big deal, is I think the biggest thing is that I've always had a lot of options in terms of I have had one pedal that does a specific thing but maybe doesn't stack very well. Where I'm about to lose this camera, so I'll talk up here, just because of battery going flat. So I've always had options, but sometimes I've had 15 pedals and I've always felt the need of the crutch of having a delay or a reverb or something. And let's be honest, in the last few days and weeks, I've never had as much fun as I have had in these last few days, just playing with dirt pedals, basically. Yeah, I have several delay pedals, and I'm not about to throw them away or sell them. but at the same time, you know, finding the right sound, and particularly not having to run noise gates, really, you know, really has changed my playing, I think, and certainly as well just my approach to the guitar. Okay, so I hope that's been of interest. I know it's been a lot of waffle. There's going to be more videos that have a lot more playing, a lot less talking coming up. Until then, take care, and I'll see you soon.
What makes me tick? What makes me talk? What keeps me running round to what I am devoted? What makes me tick? What makes me talk? What makes me tick?